I'm 72 now. I got diagnosed with cancer last year. They told me it was aggressive, but there wasn't much left to do besides treatment that might slow it, not fix it. Sitting there in that sterile room, hearing the words, I felt nothing at first. Then everything hit at once. The years, the choices, the quiet losses. I realized, in a way I hadn't before, how little control I actually had over anything. It's strange. I spent most of my life thinking I had time to make things right, time to say the things I meant, time to live without regret. You plan your life in neat little blocks, work, pay the bills, build a name for yourself, and you assume there'll always be more time after. But there isn't. Not really. I remember my 20s, just starting out. I was ambitious, restless. I wanted to make something of myself. I chased jobs that promised respect, promotions, small pieces of security. I worked long hours. I wanted to prove I was capable. And I did. But I missed things along the way. Birthdays, anniversaries, quiet nights at home. Little things. My mother's last Christmas before she passed, I wasn't there. My brother's wedding, I had a conference. I always told myself I'd make up for it later, that there would be a later. In my 30s, I got married. My wife, Mary, she was patient, steady. She wanted simple things, Sunday drives, long dinners, quiet talks about nothing. I gave her mostly absence. Even when I was physically there, I was elsewhere, thinking about work, thinking about status, thinking about the next step. She never complained much, but I can see now the little cracks forming, the long silences at the table, the sighs I ignored. I thought I was providing. I thought I was showing love by giving her security. But love isn't about spreadsheets or investments. It's about presence. And I wasn't there enough. By the time I hit my 40s, my parents were gone. One week, my father died of a heart attack. The next, my mother passed quietly in her sleep. I barely remember the funerals. I had meetings, deadlines, travel. I was competent, admired, even wealthy. But I was hollow in ways I didn't recognize until much later. My family wasn't really family anymore. They were memories I kept in snapshots and letters I didn't answer promptly. The small costs were what killed me slowly, though I didn't notice it. The birthdays I forgot, the dinners I skipped, the arguments I let fester because I was too tired, too busy, too right. I thought I was being responsible, and in a way I was. But I didn't realize responsibility could also be the thief of intimacy. I look back and I see a long trail of small regrets, almost invisible at the time, that added up to something bigger than any single disaster. Then the diagnosis at 72, cancer. The word alone made all the other little losses converge into a single, sharp line of clarity. This was it. No more later, no more I'll fix it tomorrow. The choices I had postponed were gone. The people I'd taken for granted, gone. And I realized something else. I could still choose, but only in the narrow space left, only in the now. I made a decision that surprised even me. I refused most treatment, not because I didn't want to live, but because I wanted the time I had left to mean something differently, to finally show up, to be present. I spent months reconnecting with people I hadn't spoken to in decades, my children, my grandchildren. I drove to small towns to sit with old friends I'd lost track of. I wrote letters to people who mattered once, telling them I remembered, that I cared, that I had been blind for too long. It wasn't easy. Some doors had closed for good. Some were locked and there was no key. One friend refused to speak to me after years of absence. My oldest son barely answered my calls at first. And Mary died 3 years ago. I could call her name until my voice cracked, but she wouldn't answer. I had missed too much. But still, I found a quiet grace in the effort. In these last months, the presence mattered more than the outcome. Cancer is humbling. It forces you to reckon with mortality, with finality. I think about the things that can't be fixed, the time I spent apart from those I loved, thinking work or duty was love, the missed breakfasts, the unplayed games, the laughter I didn't hear. Those are gone forever. They won't come back. I can't retrieve the years, no matter how many apologies I give. That part of life is irretrievable, and I have to live with that, quietly, painfully as it is. But the rest is still mine. The moments I choose now, the people I reach out to, the memories I create, however short, they have weight. They matter, even if they're just drops in a much larger ocean I ignored for so long. And sometimes I see gratitude and sorrow at once, grateful for what remains, sorry for what is gone. That's the mix. That's the truth of it. I want to tell you, if anything I say reaches you, it's this. Don't assume there will be later. Don't think you have unlimited tomorrows. Be present with the people you care for, even in small ways. Send the message, make the call, share the meal. Don't wait for grand gestures. You'll find yourself in a hospital room or standing at a graveside, and the later you promised yourself will be gone. Sometimes I lie in bed at night and think about Mary. I remember her voice, the curve of her smile. I remember the quiet dinners I did manage to attend, the nights we laughed despite everything. Those moments are precious now, because I can't add any more. They're all that remain, and I try to savor them, to let them fill the empty spaces, however faintly. I made the decision to stop fighting what couldn't be fixed. I chose presence over treatment, connection over survival alone. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel triumphant. It feels like the only thing left that I can control in this final chapter. And that's enough. Maybe it's all anyone ever has. Some nights I lie in bed and think about Mary. I remember her voice, the curve of her smile. I remember the quiet dinners I did manage to attend, the nights we laughed despite everything. Those moments are precious now, because I can't add any more. They're all that remain, and I try to savor them, to let them fill the empty spaces, however faintly. I made the decision to stop fighting what couldn't be fixed. I chose presence over treatment, connection over survival alone. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel triumphant. It feels like the only thing left that I can control in this final chapter. And that's enough. Maybe it's all anyone